I just assumed, oops.
All right, thank you. It is now 6:30 and we can call this meeting to order. Mr. City Attorney, do we have any closed session reports?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nothing to report out of closed session.
Thank you. Mr. Lee Kennedy, will you please lead us in the flag salute tonight? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayala,
Here.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Here.
Councilmember Litzter,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge,
Here.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here. Are there any items for agenda review?
There are, Madam Mayor, there are two. The first is for informational presentation, item 3C. This item will be presented by Sanvi Daga only. Our other presenter is sick this evening. And then the supplemental on public hearing item number 5A clarifies the term of the affordable housing agreement.
Thank you very much. Any others?
I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Ayala. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. If any member of the city council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time. Seeing none, we can move forward.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D1, presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of April 6th through April 12th, 2025 as Library Week, and Deputy Community Services Director Anna Medina is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. Accepting the proclamation today, I'm going to ask Cindy Slack if you'll come forward. Also, Stephanie Irby, Interim Library Director. Jimena Jaramillo, Literacy Coordinator. Zoe Gabay, Marketing Coordinator. And Lisa Givon, Adult Services Librarian. Yes. Okay. Libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals of all ages can explore new ideas and be drawn to new possibilities. They serve as a vibrant community hub, providing free and equitable access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals, regardless of background, have the support they need to learn, connect, and thrive. Libraries partner with schools, businesses, and organizations to empower job seekers, entrepreneurs, and lifelong learners by providing access to resources, training, and opportunities that support career growth, strengthening the entire community. They nurture young minds through story times, STEAM programs, and literacy initiatives, fostering curiosity and a love of learning that lasts a lifetime. They protect the right to read, think, and explore without censorship, standing as champions of intellectual freedom and free expression. Dedicated librarians and library workers provide welcoming spaces that inspire discovery, collaboration, and creativity for all. Libraries across the country are joining together to celebrate National Library Week under the theme, Drawn to the Library. In recognition of the vital role libraries play, the City of Simi Valley proclaims April 6th through April 12th, 2025 as Library Week to honor the contributions of the Simi Valley Public Library and its dedicated staff. All residents are encouraged to visit the Simi Valley Public Library, explore its resources, and celebrate all the ways that the library draws us together as a community.
While you're getting that working, I also think Cindy Slack, who is the president of the Library Foundation, ought to be part of the photo too. I just going to put that out there.
I think that's a good thought, too. And I was laughing at myself because I came down too soon. I should have waited till the presentation was done, but I had to have these ladies stand here and enjoy it. So thank you all for everything you do. Library, I've been a lifelong reader. It's been a passion of mine. Now my grandkids are now joining the library and getting their 2 books when they come. So you guys do a wonderful job. But it's not just books at our library. If you look and see all the things that you guys do, it's wonderful. And I keep telling people to get involved and look and see what our library does. And we have the new library mobile van too, don't we? Does anyone want to say anything?
Just thank you so much for acknowledging all the hard work that our team is doing. We love serving our community.
Thank you. Cindy, do you want about the foundation? She has a card. She'll talk later. All right. Well, thank you. Congratulations. You want to take a picture?
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. We have no speakers for this item this evening. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A1, appointment of Councilmember Joseph Ayala to serve on the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees and adoption of a resolution. The reading of the resolution is as follows. Resolution number 2025-05, a resolution of the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees appointing City Council Member Ayala to the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees. And Deputy Community Services Director Anna Medina is presenting this item.
Good evening, President Kavanaugh and Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees. In 2012, the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees established the initial terms of office of the board, with 3-year terms of service for each trustee. Trustees are appointed upon completion of their 3-year term or upon assuming an office vacated by a council member or mayor. On January 21st, 2025, Mayor and Board President Thomas passed away, creating a vacancy in his seat, with his term set to expire on June 30th, 2025. In accordance with California Education Code Section 18913 and Ordinance Number 1182, Trustee Ayala will serve the remaining portion of this existing 3-year term. Staff recommends that the board adopt a resolution appointing Councilmember Ayala to serve on the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees for a term ending on June 30th, 2025. This concludes the report, and staff is available to answer any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge?
I move that we adopt the resolution and place Councilmember Ayala on the Board of the Library Trustees.
Second.
Call the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
I suspect we will visit this again in June.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A2, selection of one City Council member to serve on a selection committee with a continuing arts commissioner to interview and nominate prospective Simi Valley Arts Commissioners, and Assistant Community Services Manager Sandy McGee and Deputy Community Services Director Anna Medina are here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. On June 30th, 2025, the terms of service for 2 members of the Simi Valley Arts Commission will conclude. The Arts Commission is responsible for promoting greater public participation in and access to arts and culture, exploring alternate sources of arts and culture funding, planning arts programs and events, developing a master cultural plan, applying for grants, reviewing the annual financial and operational plans for the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center, and reinforcing the arts as a vital, integral, and necessary component of life for all members of the community. Membership on the commission is comprised of 8 members, 2 City Council members, 5 City Council appointed public members, and 1 Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center Foundation board member. All public members serve staggered 2-year terms of office. Arts Commission members may serve 2 consecutive terms and may serve additional terms provided 12 months have lapsed between appointments beyond 2 consecutive terms. Staff initiated a recruitment on February 12, 2025, to fill these upcoming vacancies. Recruitment efforts included a press release, cable television, public service announcements, shares on social media, and postings on the city's website. A total of 3 applications were received, and orientations for prospective applicants were held on March 27, 2025. It is estimated that approximately 1 hour will be needed to conduct the interviews. Staff is recommending that the City Council select 1 City Council member to serve on a selection committee with a continuing Arts Commissioner to interview and nominate applicants to serve on the Arts Commission for appointment by the City Council. Councilmember Litster last served in this capacity in May of 2024. This concludes the report, and staff is available to answer any questions you may have.
Any comments? Any volunteers? Councilmember Rhodes?
Yeah, since I sit on the Arts Commission, I'd be happy to volunteer to do the interviews for that.
I would be happy to second that, if you want to make your motion for yourself.
That works.
All right, so moved.
Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A3, appointment of Simi Valley Council on Aging Executive Board Member, and Deputy Community Services Director Anna Medina is presenting this item as well.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council again. I would like to ask Candace Garcia-Score to come forward. On January 14, 2025, a vacancy occurred on the Council on Aging Executive Board as a result of a resignation by an executive board member. The Council on Aging serves as an advisory board to the City Council on senior-related issues. Executive board members are nominated by the COA general membership and serve staggered 2-year terms. Additional terms may be served provided 12 months have lapsed between appointments. The Executive Board approved to fill the vacated seat at its February 10th, 2025 meeting. As a result, the COA received 3 responses. An election was held at the March 10th, 2025 meeting, and the COA is recommending Candace Garcia Score for appointment to the Executive Board to serve the remainder of the vacated term, which will expire on January 31st, 2026. The COA recommends that the City Council approve and the Mayor appoint Candace Garcia Score to the COA Executive Board to serve a term commencing April 1st, 2025, and concluding on January 31st, 2026. This concludes the report, and staff is available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Can you tell I already knew Candace, so this is wonderful. I'm glad you're involved to this. Here is your wonderful volunteer pin that you get for becoming a volunteer here in the city of Simi Valley. I look forward to working with you a little bit more. Anything you want to say?
No, but I'm looking forward to serving and helping out in any way I can with the seniors.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. Now, picture.
Madam Mayor, we should probably vote on this.
Oh, that would help.
Yeah, I move that we.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
I move we approve and the mayor appoint the applicant nominated by the COA General Membership Council on Aging Executive Board to serve a term commencing on April 1st, 2025 and concluding January 31st, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Will you push yes for me, please? Call for the vote. I even thought about saying that I'd have to ask her to vote for me.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, now we're good. So congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks, Candace.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3C1, informational presentation by Youth Council Member Sanvi Daga.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. My name is Sanvi Daga, and I'm a sophomore at Simi Valley High School. I'm honored to represent the Simi Valley Youth Council to provide this informational report with our achievements from February to March of 2025. Thank you for your continued support in helping us create meaningful change and opportunities for youth in our community. On March 14th, the Youth Council successfully hosted the Youth Impact Forum, previously known as Youth Town Hall. The theme, Turning the Tide, Preventing Substance Use in Youth, focused on engaging students in meaningful discussions surrounding substance use prevention. This year, we had more than 30 students from Simi Valley and Oak Park. These students participated in breakout sessions featuring engaging activities such as creating a public service announcement, experiencing a calming and restorative sound bath, engaging in an interactive and educational escape room, and learning about the effects of opioids and prevention strategies. In addition to these interactive sessions, a guest speaker relayed his story about the effects substance abuse had on his life and how he turned his life around. Hearing his personal story gave students a powerful glimpse into the real struggles of substance use, showing the impact it has on individuals and their loved ones. These experiences served as a reminder of why prevention and support are so important in our community. Participants also had the opportunity to experience the newly established Ronald Reagan Academy of Communication and Leadership at Sinaloa Middle School. This location created a welcoming and interactive space where students could actively engage, develop leadership skills, and have meaningful conversations with their peers. Looking ahead, the Youth Council is preparing for our biggest event of the year, the Simi Valley Talent Show, being held on April 4th and 5th at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. The Simi Valley Talent Show is one of our most anticipated events, showcasing the diverse talents of performers of all ages. This year, we're excited to introduce a new 2-night format, where approximately 15 acts will perform each night, allowing more participants to take the stage and share their unique skills with their community. The Youth Council is currently planning our second annual Multicultural Fair on Thursday, April 17th, where we seek to celebrate all the different cultural backgrounds of students in our city. It will be hosted at Santa Susana High School, and we are working with one of their clubs to prepare for this event. This year, we plan on adding more of a celebrative and festive aspect to this event, calling on many cultural organizations and clubs at schools from across Simi Valley to make this a more inclusive event for all cultures. We are also currently in preparation for one of our largest wellness events, the Teen Wellness Night, which will be held at the Simi Valley Public Library on Friday, May 16th, right after AP testing. Historically, the Teen Wellness Night has drawn hundreds of students from across Simi Valley and is a way for them to relax after the most stressful part of the school year. We will continue our highly successful Unplugged Day initiative, where students are encouraged to disconnect from technology and participate in real-life activities. Those with the lowest screen times on their phones have an opportunity to win prizes. We will also be introducing new initiatives this year. To stay updated on our newest events, please follow the Youth Council on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Simi Valley Youth Council, as well as on TikTok at SVYC2929. On behalf of the Youth Council, we sincerely thank you for your unwavering support and for empowering us to take meaningful steps and implement initiatives that benefit our youth. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Sanvi. And I'm looking forward to the talent show this coming weekend, so it'll be very much fun. Councilmember Rhodes.
Sanvi, thank you for the, once again, professional report that our Youth Council brings to us. I wanted to talk about the previously called Youth Town Hall. It was great to be there. The speaker that you had, while it was impactful for the youth, it was impactful for everyone in the room. And so, well chosen, well done. And the only thing that I regret, because I had to go to another function, is not getting to do the sound bath thing, which sounded, from people that experienced it, like, okay, that's awesome. Might need one in my house. I don't know. But thank you guys for all that you do, and well presented.
Thank you.
Councilmember Litzter.
And I will say ditto to all of that. Thank you, Councilmember Rhodes. Actually, I wanted to share just a conversation that I overheard at the Youth Impact Forum. It was wonderfully done, and it was interesting. As I was leaving, I was party with a conversation with Oak Park Middle School, and the students were asking their advisor, "You've got to get that speaker. How do we get him?" And they were just so inspired by the efforts that you put together and wanted to replicate that at their own school. So thank you for all that you did. Very successful. And I like the fact that you have the teen wellness right after the AP testing. It's just to recoup. So anyway, look, thank you for a great presentation.
Councilmember Ayala.
I think that we have to remember that she is a middle schooler presenting this. She did an amazing job. And if you were to see her and you did not know, high school.
Sophomore.
A sophomore.
Yes.
Good enough. Now, let me tell you why it's good enough. Some of you may know that I teach at Cal State Northridge. One of the classes I teach is public speaking. She could go up against any of them with what she's doing. It's an amazing job. The other thing is, in regards to the speaker that they chose, you know it's good when a student raises their hand and says, "How can we get you to get your message out to other middle school students?" That's how impactful it was. And the third thing I would say is, congratulations, maybe not be the word, but for Ryan, because as you can see, he allows the students to actually lead the projects and do the speaking and lead the presentation. So they're learning all of these leadership skills because he's allowing them to do it and takes a step back to allow them to showcase their skills. So I want to thank Ryan for doing that and to really helping the next generation of leaders through this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanvi and Ryan. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. Agenda items 4 and 6 are times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public statements item 4 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Each person addressing the City Council requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Madam Mayor, unless you have any comments, we can begin public statements. Thank you. Michael Shaw.
Hi, everyone. Madam Mayor, Council, hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Glad to be seen. I'm still upright. Wow. You know, you guys got off easy because everything's done with the phone. So I wrote up all my comments. I emailed them to myself, and then I forgot my glasses. So we might make game time. I wanted to first congratulate our mayor, Dee Dee. What a grand commentary you wrote in the Acorn. It was good. You're a really good advocate for the city. I have to remind everybody that this Saturday is our See Me Roundup. Oh. Anyway, See Me Roundup. I hope we see you all there. It's going to be fun, and if you do make it, make a point to stop by Sassy's Saloon because I'm managing that, so you can come say hi. Let's see. Since the last time I saw you all, I went to my bike advocacy clinic, and I tell you, after 3 days experiencing the 405, I can say that advocating for pedestrian and bike safety is about like driving on the 405. Not much happens and it doesn't go very far. But it was well worthwhile going. And I won't bother you guys to read this for you, but they're trying to start a program where they're trying to initiate learning how to ride a bicycle in every single elementary school around. And I think that'd be a well-worthy cause. Then, let's see. So the 405, bike advocacy. And then, well, I was going to go into a story about how Fred had schooled me about a charter city. When I was reading about you, I went, I had no clue either, other than I was yapping at Fred going, you know, we need to pay our council people. They give so much of themselves and so much time. And if we're going to get young guys, not old guys like you and me, well, he's like, Mike, we need a charter city. And I went, well, Fred, what's that? So now I know my opinion about this, but what I'm curious about is all of your opinions. So I made a little list. One, I'd like to, if you'd like to share your opinion about a charter city. I've heard talk about privatizing our water supply. I have opinions about that. I won't go into it. I'm curious about yours. Increased developer fees. All of this, comes back to me talking about taxes. Annexing unincorporated parts of the city, raising the city sales tax, all of which I'm not too keen on. But the last one, the city to manage all the new city gardens that I
Mike,
want
the
to
red
see.
light's flashing. The red light's flashing.
Yep, I'm done.
Okay. Thank
City
you.
gardens. All right. I'm
Thank
done.
you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk next couple weeks.
John Lapper.
Fortunately, I've got my glasses. Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and City Council. Happy Cesar Chavez Day, a true patriot pioneering a better life for our farm workers who are so vital to our Ventura County agriculture industry. And out front, I don't know if you noticed, but there was about 75 of us that showed up bringing teddy bears and food. What an outpour from Simi Valley, just really quickly put together on social media. Very proud of Simi Valley today. Happy International Transgender Day of Visibility. You don't have to understand it or like it. I would just ask for tolerance and express that there is no need for hate and discrimination. You can't catch it or be taught it. It's science. First item I'd like to touch briefly on is social media, specifically the posting anonymously of inflammatory toxic posts in Simi Valley Facebook by TJ McInturf's group. I feel strongly that a mayor of a city can lead and influence others. Mayor Fred Thomas, may he rest in peace, said as one of his goals for his second term was that of reaching out and unifying our city instead of us versus them. Be more inclusive. This city council has influence with many key players in Simi politics. Reach out to those who you know who are perhaps combative, not so tolerant, and let's see if we can find some common ground to make our city inclusive to all. Second item would be the disposal of the fire debris material to the Simi Waste Management Landfill. I was fortunate to have a 45-minute conversation with Sean Debley, who is the manager of the Ventura County Resource Management Agency Environmental Health Division. Sean was very patient and thorough in explaining the entire process to me with various stages. Not being convinced of the safety to the Simi Valley residents after reading the waste management press release, Sean set my mind at ease. The major concern for me remains the truck transfers of the materials. I am hopeful that our city council makes sure safety requirements are monitored to keep the airborne materials from being a risk to Simi residents. Trucks must be washed down, watered down, materials wrapped, and air monitoring testing must be done by an independent source other than Waste Management. If you haven't seen the documentary Toxic Town on Netflix, please watch it. Lastly, let's touch on the latest pending Simi Town Center Mall conversion process. I hope our city council stops fighting a partial mixed-use plan for the part of the mall. That's the reality of our lost cause mall. Agree to a mixed use, but fight for real affordable housing, not just the minimal numbers required by the state. Quick approval process in exchange for affordable housing. And please, Mayor Pro Tem Judge, lose the attitude of not on my watch. Thank you very much.
Coral Eisenbrook.
Sorry.
Hi. Thank you for the time to speak today. On this Trans Day of Visibility, I would like to say to the transgender and non-binary members of my community, congrats on being visible today and every day. I am so proud of you for living your truth and loving your identity. You're amazing and powerful and inspirational. To recognize Cesar Chavez Day, I also want to acknowledge the migrant families in my community who participate in all aspects of our society. Economically, by carrying harder and more thankless workloads than any of us can imagine, by engaging in our educational institutions despite language and cultural barriers, and supporting your families and neighbors. These members of our community deserve dignity and respect, and that should be acknowledged not just on a holiday, but at all times. So I hope my city council members will take both those days into consideration, and thank you for your time.
Cindy Slack.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the City Council, and fellow community members. My name is Cindy Slack. I have the privilege of being the president of the Simi Valley Library Foundation. Our mission is to financially support the Simi Valley Public Library in its efforts to renovate and revitalize the library and its services. Our library is more than a place for books. It's a vital community hub where residents of all ages come together to learn, connect, and grow. As our city continues to evolve, it's essential the library keeps pace by offering modern, safe, and inviting spaces. The Simi Valley Library Foundation is committed to collaborating with the city in securing the necessary funding to revitalize the library, including foundational upgrades, to ensure safety and accessibility, as well as redesigning the interior to foster community gathering and collaboration. Expanding beyond STEM to include visual and creative arts will create a well-rounded learning environment and encourage both analytical and artistic expression. We are here to share our vision and seek your continued support and your partnership as we work to bring these improvements to life. Your leadership and advocacy are crucial in helping us create a library that truly reflects the vibrant spirit of Simi Valley. Thank you.
Jacqueline.
Good evening, everyone, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm here for the first time. I'm new to this neighborhood, to Simi Valley, and I would like to comment about the increasing operations of flight schools in the Simi Valley. So before here, I lived in Van Nuys neighborhood, like in the valley, for 2 years. But because of the increasing operations of the Van Nuys Airport, I had to sell the house at a cost because the neighborhood now is flooded by jet flights and flight schools operations, and it's absolutely noisy. So because of health issues, because those are really health issues, so I had to sell the house and move to Simi Valley because I was told Simi Valley was very, very quiet, which was 2 years ago in 2023. But then now I see every day increasing operations of prop planes coming out of Van Nuys, mainly because Van Nuys is fixing the runway. It's called runway 16R, attracting more jets and attracting more flight schools to Van Nuys. Reportedly, there are 18 flight schools coming out of Van Nuys, and then mainly come to the Simi Valley for the flight training. However, the projected number of schools is going to be 25 very soon, and they all will come. Their preferred place is Van Nuys, is Simi Valley. So, taking into account all the crashes that are happening nowadays because of deregulation of the aviation industry, because I know I have done a lot of research, FAA and airports are completely disconnected. So for example, if you complain about a flight pattern in a certain area and you call FAA, FAA calls back. But the first thing that they say is to encourage to call the airport. When we call the airport says it's not them, it's FAA. So there is a complete disconnect, which is very beneficial for flight schools to increase operations. Now, the noise has become a problem. It has become a constant presence in Simi Valley. And I'm here to also let you know, we are not saying for them to not fly, but I'm telling them what we want is to put under certain regulations so that people who pay taxes, they pay for mortgage, they pay for interest, they pay the tax money, can at least enjoy their backyard during weekends. This weekend, I tracked every plane, and the pattern work is horrible. And I would like to warn, this is gonna increase tremendously in coming years because of Van Nuys' operations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mayor Kavanaugh, that was the last speaker. And the next item on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
Does anyone wish to speak? Oh, Councilmember Litster.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for those who recognize that today's Cesar Chavez and also Transgender Recognition Day. Again, we like to recognize all sorts of contributions to our community. So thank you for those who spoke to that. What I really wanted to speak about, though, is about, our comment is on Cindy Slack's comments with the library. I just want to first say how grateful we are that there is a foundation that is in support of the library. And I was taking notes. We haven't mentioned it, but we're very aware that our recent library director, Kelly Bealey, has gone on to a different position and is no longer with us. And I know that's a tremendous loss because she has done so much incredible work for our library and had such a vision. I'm delighted that Stephanie is stepping in an interim position, and I know that you've worked with her and you have big shoes to fill, but you have great ideas and great skills. So I appreciate that you're there. There's continuity. But as I was jotting down your comments, Cindy, I put renovate, restore, revitalize, redesign. I was just making this alliterative R thing going here, and I thought this is pretty tacky. But I wanted you to know that I sat down with Kelly last week as she was leaving. Maybe it was the week before, actually. I'm sorry. And one of my pledges to her was that we have a jewel in our community but it needs to be revitalized. It needs to be redesigned. And I've had recent meetings at the Camarillo Library, and I've thought, I need to take my counterparts to go see what that library looks like so we can see what we should have in our own community. So I know there are things to be considered in terms of even who owns the building and all of that, but I want you to know that I'm making a commitment that I think that there needs to be a light shine on that beautiful building, and we need to do much more to support your efforts and our community. Jacqueline, I just want to quickly say thank you, having lived for 20 years in the flight line right next to the Van Nuys Airport. I know of what you speak. I think that ultimately it was part of the reason I moved. I was not aware that the flight patterns took them into and over Simi Valley, which is what you're indicating. I will certainly would love further information to have us maybe have our city manager look at that and just see what is really transpiring and see the frequency and just an awareness. So thank you for bringing that. That was completely, I was unaware. So thank you, Jacqueline. We certainly approve of business in our community, but at the same time, we do not want noise affecting. So thank you.
Councilmember Ayala.
I want to first acknowledge Mr. Lapper. I'm glad that your mind is put at ease regarding the waste management. I know there's a lot of community concerns around that, so it's good to hear that your mind is at ease, because mine is as well. And so if anyone is concerned about that, you can always take a tour of waste management and learn more about that, and hopefully your mind will be at ease as well. Also, I want to compliment what Councilmember Lister had mentioned about the library. I did my library tour during this past couple weeks, and me and my daughter are patrons of the library. And one of the things I learned is that libraries are not going away. 330,000 books were checked out last year. And that's just the books. That's not videos and things like that. And so what part of the tour was them showing what could be done in the building to make it better and to make it look like our neighboring communities have. And so I'm a big advocate for that as well. And similar to my fellow council member, I want to recognize those that acknowledged Transgender Day and Cesar Chavez Day. And I have a quote. Cesar Chavez had said, "We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspiration and needs of others." So it's a simple reminder that when we work together, we do create a stronger community for everyone. So I want to thank all the speakers tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll add just a couple of notes. Both Councilmember Lister and Councilmember Ayala did very eloquently say a lot of my thoughts also. Mr. Shaw, we're going to get those bicycles going at some point in time, aren't we? John, thank you for sharing the fact that you actually spoke with them and feel a lot better about it. I also spoke with two of our Board of Supervisors recently about it, and I know the county is really keeping an eye on it also. Thank you, Coral, for bringing up, and happy Transgender Day and Cesar Chavez Day. Appreciate it. And Cindy, the Library Foundation is such a key event, or such a key component of our library, and thank you for being the president. For those of you that don't know, is they run the bookstore inside there, and it's great. The books are, 50 cents? Sometimes they're $1, depending on what you do. And all that money goes towards the foundation, and it's perfect. Rocky and I share an exchange student. I took our exchange student there because she didn't want to buy books that she couldn't take home with her and spend a lot of money. So she spent $3 and had a bag of books. So she was very, very happy, and then she'll donate them back when she's done. People need to realize that. I bought kids' books for my grandchildren. I said, oh, this is really good. And Jacqueline, thank you for bringing the planes to our notice. We'll have them look into it. And I think that's it. And thank you for everybody that comes and speaks to the city council. Sometimes it's not easy. You need to get used to it, like Mr. Lapper and Mr. Shaw. They're becoming regulars. Sorry, I mentioned that wrong. Oh, well, whatever. Sorry, I was promoting the bookstore, and that's the Friends of the Library, and the foundation's the Capitol. I'm making mistakes tonight. I think I need to start today over. Either way, it's a great thing to support our library, right? Thank you. Thank you, City Manager Argabright. All right. I think we're ready to go on to the next item. Thanks.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is public hearings. This is the time for testimony on public hearings on the consideration of matters as presented on this agenda. Let the record show that due notice was given as provided by law and an affidavit to this effect is on file in the office of the city clerk. All comments submitted by email have already been provided to the City Council and will be made part of the record. However, they will not be read by the city clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public testimony item 5 for a period of no more than 5 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community residence for the record. Comments shall be limited to matters relevant to the item on the agenda and may be ruled out of order if comments are unrelated to the item. The reports of city staff relating to these matters shall be made part of the record of this meeting. If you challenge in court any of the City Council decisions made here tonight, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing. The time within which judicial review must be sought is governed by California Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1094.6. Item 5A, a public hearing to consider a plan development permit PDS 2023-0010, tentative map TT-2023-0003, and an affordable housing agreement AHA-2023-0005 to construct a 26-unit, 3-story, multifamily residential condominium townhome development and 3 affordable units located at 4868 Cochran Street. A determination that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and adoption of 2 resolutions. The reading of the resolutions is as follows. Resolution number 2025-06, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley approving a plan development permit PDS 2023-0010 and tentative map TT 2023-0003 to allow construction of a new 26-unit, 3-story multifamily residential condominium townhome development with 3 affordable units located at 4868 Cochran Street, and a determination that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and resolution number 2025-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley approving an affordable housing agreement AHA 2023-0005 with City Ventures Home Building LLC for the development of 26 townhomes, including 3 one-bedroom units to be reserved for moderate-income households located at 4868 Cochran Street. And Deputy Environmental Services Director Sean Gibson, Associate Planner Alexandra Klingman, and Management Analyst Daniel Franco are here to present this item.
Before we begin, are there any ex parte communications to report? Thank you. Staff may begin with the oral report on this matter.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. Tonight's item is a proposed 26-unit for-sale townhome project behind the existing Korean Baptist Church at 4868 Cochran Street, which are seeking final approval tonight as 3 of the units will be set aside for affordable units of moderate-income households. This site in particular is one of the sites identified in our adopted housing element, which was rezoned to accommodate the city's RHNA requirements. Specifically, we identified the site to accommodate 25 units. Since this project is 26 units, its approval will be fully consistent with our housing element goal for the site and also takes advantage of underutilized land at the church site while also being near Metrolink and other transit. With tonight's presentation is Associate Planner Alex Klingman.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and members of the City Council. The applicant, City Ventures Home Building, LLC, requests approval of a plan development permit and tentative map to develop a 26-unit townhome project on the southern half of the Korean Baptist Church property, located at 4868 Cochran Street. The project request also includes an affordable housing agreement to provide 3 moderate income level affordable units in exchange for a density bonus and 6 waivers. The site is located on the south side of Cochran Street within the Cotoda Fig specific plan and is surrounded by a senior apartment complex to the west, single-family homes to the north and south, and a religious facility to the east. The site currently has an existing religious facility on the northern portion of the site, facing Cochrane Street, which is developed with a 5,500 square foot main building, a detached multipurpose building, playground, and a parking lot. The Korean Baptist Church plans to sell the vacant southern portion of the site to the applicant for the townhome development. To facilitate this, a conditional use permit modification and tentative parcel map was approved by the Planning Commission at the February 5th public hearing. The site will be accessed via a shared driveway from Cochrane Street. The site will be developed with a new 26-unit for-sale townhome community. There will be 4 buildings, each 3 stories in height. The units are a mix of 1 to 4 bedrooms, ranging in size from 725 square feet to 1,710 square feet. Building 1 includes 3 one-bedroom units designated for qualified moderate-income homebuyers. Each unit will have a private 1 or 2 car garage. There are also 10 additional uncovered parking spaces, shown in yellow, for a total of 59 parking spaces on site. The project will also add approximately 11,700 square feet of new landscaping throughout the perimeter of the site, along walkways and within private yards. There will also be an 810 square foot common outdoor area located at the southwest corner of the site, which will include an active lawn, barbecue, picnic tables, and benches. The building design combines early California and Hacienda architectural styles with red tile roofs, as you can see here, light-colored stucco walls and arched doorways, and wood-like balcony siding. To reduce massing, the entire development includes recessed windows and varied roof forms with parapets and eaves. Regarding the density bonus and incentives, the residential high zoning on the property allows a density of 10.1 to 20 units per acre. Since the site is 1.23 acres, 24 units are allowed at base density, which should be 19.51 units per acre. The applicant is providing the 3 affordable units to achieve a density bonus of 2 more units. This will result in a new density of 21.13 dwelling units per acre. This also qualifies the project for modified parking requirements, 1 development concession, and multiple waivers, as long as the waivers do not impose a life or safety hazard. The applicant is not requesting any concessions, and they have requested 6 waivers in addition to the density bonus. The 6 waivers include decreased front and side yard setbacks, decreased building separation, decreased single car garage dimensions, and the elimination of the specific plan height restriction and landscape buffer requirements. As mentioned earlier, the project will have an affordable housing agreement that will restrict the sale and occupancy of the 3 one-bedroom units for moderate-income households for a period of 45 years. To determine the maximum household income limit, a 2-person household is assumed for a 1-bedroom unit pursuant to the California Health and Safety Code. As of May 2024, the maximum income limit for a household of 2 is $120,550. The project is also categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15332 for infill development. Planning Commission recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution Number 2025-06, approving the plan development permit and tentative map, with the determination that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA. Staff recommends the City Council adopt Resolution Number 2025-07, approving the Affordable Housing Agreement. This concludes our presentation, and staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff from the city council members? Councilmember Lister.
My button, it's left over, but I do have questions, so I'll go ahead and start.
Okay, go.
First of all, I appreciate the fact that these are for sale units, and appreciate the fact that there's affordability. But I guess my question is, I always love to see how the neighborhood feels about it. And so, of course, I tend to start with the neighborhood council reports, which are found on page 220, whatever, 28 or whatever. And what I read was that Neighborhood Council 1 voted against it, Neighborhood Council 2, and I'll be very specific, Neighborhood Council 1 was 6 against, 4 was for, and 1 audience, so it was very close, but it was against. Neighborhood Council 2, 6 were for, 2 to 2 in the audience. I guess my question is, first of all, what was their concern? If you can summarize it, and I'm sorry, I can't see you down there, I know you're there. What was their concern? And then did the applicant do anything to mitigate their concerns after they went to the neighborhood council?
Sure. Some of the concerns noted at the neighborhood council meeting were regarding the waivers that the applicant was requesting, which included this reduced setbacks. Some of it had to do with the privacy impacts to the neighbors, I believe to the south of the property. And some of it also had to do with just concerns about parking on site and access to the site. I would like to defer to the applicant to have them speak on how they responded to those comments and if there was any additional outreach after that.
Okay, I appreciate that. When the applicant comes up, I'd love them to answer that. Here's my next question. I noticed that basically the affordability that's being met in this instance is for medium income. Moderate income. Medium, moderate, moderate income. We have already maxed out our RENA requirement in that area, if I'm not mistaken. I'm happy to add more there. Although, I guess my question becomes, if we have already met our RENA obligation allocation in that department, are we then still obligated to grant waivers, et cetera, for affordability? I could see saying we would do it if you're going to give us very low or low, but does it make a difference?
We're still obligated to provide density bonus and those incentives,
even if
you exceed that. We have not met our RENA numbers as a whole, so there's no.
If you
exceed, you're not excluded from prohibiting moderate or anything like that.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And here's another question. And again, going back to, I very much appreciate that these are for sale units. Can this be restricted or preferential treatment given to residents, Simi Valley residents? I guess that's the discretion of the developer, but do we have any authority in that? And additionally, can we in some way restrict it, like to only purchasing 1 or 2 units, for instance, per buyer? In other words, I don't want a company to come in and buy half of them and then rent them out, I guess. And so do we have any authority in that area?
The Affordable Housing Agreement does not have a provision for that as far as targeting current Simi Valley residents. So it would be at the discretion of the developer.
And I guess I'm not understanding. Are you saying that we, as a council, would have to have an ordinance that? I mean, do we? Maybe this is an attorney question, or is this something that a city can do? Can we restrict development to be basically restricted to single buyers, or in other words, not coming in and buying half the project, or does that make sense?
There's 2 questions, right? There's the question about if we can restrict the purchaser, or not restrict the purchasers, but open purchase to Simi Valley residents first. And then the second question is related to restrict the number of units that can be purchased, correct?
Per person, or per entity.
Okay.
You're right, thank you. Thank you for articulating my questions.
And I don't believe that we can do that. I would defer to the city attorney, but
You want
I
to add
don't-
something too? We'll get you
yeah,
in a
I'm not
minute.
aware that we're able to do that unilaterally.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to answer the question, just making sure I understand, there are certain, obviously, affordability requirements for the housing units that have to be affordable. So
Sure.
I don't see necessarily that a company could come in because they wouldn't meet those requirements.
Right, and I'm not speaking of those 3. I think I'm speaking of the other 23.
Got it. To answer your question for that, then no, I don't see how the city can, at this point, restrict that. Now, there may be considerations in the future. You simply don't have, like, for instance, an inclusionary housing ordinance, right? Where there may be a consideration of something like that. But I think under the current law and the lack of that in your ordinance, I don't see how you would have the ability to do that.
Okay, thank you. You wanted to say something more?
I did. I wanted to apologize. I misspoke. This affordable housing agreement does have that provision.
I thought I saw that it was, that they were
Yes,
trying
so
to.
first priority is given to applicants who live or work in Simi Valley, and second priority would be for all other applicants. I don't believe it's standard across all affordable housing agreements, but
But it
this
is for
this one
this
does
one.
include it, yes.
Okay, great,
I
thank you.
apologize for that.
No, I appreciate it.
And to clarify, the other 23 units, they're not restricted in any way in
Sure.
terms of who may purchase those.
Understood, okay. That's it, my questions for now. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, at this time, I would like to open up the hearing. Does the applicant wish to be heard on this matter? Sorry, we should have let you set up a little bit earlier.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, council members. It's nice to see you again. My name is Eric Miller. I'm the Director of Development at City Ventures. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to allow me to be here and to present our proposed development project located at 4868 Cochrane Street. I'd also like to thank city staff for the detailed staff report. Now, to get started, I want to provide a little history on the project. As you can see, we started due diligence on this just over 2 years ago. We've been through a number of submittals with the city. We've met with multiple neighborhood councils, and we've worked extremely hard to ensure that the design we're proposing tonight was designed in a way that exceeds all city expectations. As a refresher, City Ventures, founded in 2009, is one of the leading infill development companies in the state of California. We have always been a solar, all-electric home builder, focusing on green and efficient building features that not only benefit the homeowner, but benefit the city as a whole. These are just a few examples of some of our past townhome projects with similar architecture style to the one we're proposing tonight. This is an aerial view of our site. As mentioned, it's just below Cochrane Street behind the Simi Valley Korean Baptist Church. Currently is undeveloped land. The site is in close proximity to the 118 freeway, Simi Valley High School, the community center, and the Walmart shopping center. The site's a perfect opportunity for housing redevelopment as it's surrounded by residential both to the north and to the south. In 2021, well before we started due diligence on the project, the city updated their general plan and zoning to residential high in the surrounding area that not only includes our site, but other properties along Cochrane Street as well. To my knowledge, the Lighthouse Bible Church directly to the east is currently going through the entitlement process with the city to be redeveloped into housing. And to the west is a senior living apartment complex, I think built in 2015, that consists of 50 three-story for rent apartment units and is zoned residential high. And as Sean mentioned, this site was identified in the housing element as a redevelopment residential opportunity. Here you'll see the site's current conditions. These are just different angles showing the open field and overgrown shrubs. There will be 14 trees removed as part of our development, but there will be at least 14 replacement trees planted throughout the community, as well as many other smaller accent trees. Staff report did a great job going through the details, so I don't want to be repetitive. Just wanted to note that once this community is built, it will be managed and maintained by a homeowners association. This is our current site plan, which gives you a better idea of the entrance, the streets, the parking, landscaping, etc. And there were two comments I wanted to address from our meeting with Planning Commission. The first concern came from Chair Chrisman about the charcoal barbecue. So I just wanted to take the time to apologize, as that was a mistake on my end. I'm honestly surprised it made it as far as it did before getting flagged, but it would be fueled by propane. Mayor Chrisman did ask if we'd consider removing the barbecues altogether. I did confirm with our president of home building that these barbecue areas are extremely popular in other communities that we've built, so we do intend to keep it as designed. The other concern came from Commissioner Rice, who was worried about the garages being used for storage and homeowners taking up the guest parking spaces. I do understand the concern, so I just want to make sure I mention that the use of excessive storage in the garages is prohibited in the CCNRs. So any homeowner will acknowledge that the garages are meant for their vehicles, and this will be monitored and policed by the HOA. Again, these are our building elevations. Really, they were designed to try and give more of the detached single-family home feel to them with the pitched roofs and the arched entryways. This is a close-up of our common open space located in the southwest corner, consisting of the barbecues we just spoke of, shade structure, benches, a little play lawn. Really just a small area to give the community members an area to gather and just enjoy some time outside. As an all-electric home builder, there are many benefits to the homeowner. The main one being that there is no gas to the site, so appliances are all electric, which cuts down the overall utility bills. On top of that, the solar panels are included with the purchase of the home, so there's no additional payments, and they immediately experience the savings on their electric bill. Some others, drought-tolerant landscaping, all garages are pre-wired for electric vehicles, and 5-star appliances for all units are part of the standards, so there's no upgrades needed. So with all that in mind, it's clear that this project is a positive step forward towards addressing the city's housing needs. It aligns with the city's vision when they included this site in their housing element as a redevelopment opportunity, as well as updating their general plan and zoning. And it's simply just another opportunity to bring a new home community to the city of Simi Valley. Circling back to Councilmember Lister's questions, I did want to clarify, there was one neighborhood council that was a 6-4 vote against. The other neighborhood council unanimously voted to approve the project. So I just want to clarify that. Some of the concerns, as mentioned, the first concern was parking. The city's code would require this project to consist of 13 guest parking spaces. We are currently at 10 guest parking spaces. So we're just under the city's code, but we're far exceeding what's required by state density bonus. So I just wanted to point that out. There was a concern about the front setback. The city's front setback, or the city's code regarding the front setback, I believe is intended for properties that are right up against main streets. This one being, 200 feet tucked behind the main street doesn't really feel like a front setback. And we are partnering with the church, so there was a lot of thought that went into this site plan. And the church is on board with the shallow setback to make everything fit. So it was we did communicate back and forth with the church, and this is what we landed on. The other concern was about the back property line. The city's code requires a 20-foot setback. That back building is 20 feet from the property line, but we do acknowledge that there is a single-family home there, and we want to limit the impact to them as much as possible. So as we've been preparing for Planning Commission and City Council, our landscape architect has been working that back property line to increase the number of screening trees. So I do have an exhibit I can share with you. And our architect is looking at raising some of the windows to still allow natural light, but not have a direct line of sights for us to them and for them to us. So it kind of goes both ways. The list of giving the residents the first priority, like Daniel said, I don't know if it's required, but it is something we typically do. And I will need to confirm with our sales team, but that's the intent if that's what it is in the agreement, and we have no problem with that. And then the total number of units from investors, again, I would need to confirm this with our sales team, but I believe it's a 10% max. So there's no investors that could come up and buy the whole site. I think they would be limited to 2 units. Again, I would need to confirm that, but that's my initial thought. But that concludes my presentation, so I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions of the applicant from city council members? And yes, there are. Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And the front setback is a big difference, right? But you're right, when you go to the site, it's not on the street. So it makes sense that that can be reduced. And also thank you for the residents getting the first priority. I also understand that you can choose which units to designate as affordable housing. And I'm wondering how you chose the 3 one-bedroom units as the one designated as affordable.
Yeah, so a couple of things for that. Really what we've done with the 3-story townhome is setting affordable units aside. The 3-story townhome is what we like to call an attainable home. And it's somewhere in the middle. The median price in Simi Valley for a single-family home is $850,000. So what we've done with this site plan is by creating the 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units, there's different price points for each of the units. And we feel that the 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units are reasonably priced and affordable and attainable. And then, with every city, there's a housing shortage. And when you take it a step further, there's really lacking inventory on smaller units. So there's single individuals coming out of school, entering the workforce, retirees that are by themselves, or couples that are just starting out that really don't have the opportunity for home ownership. And with the increase in rental prices, they're kind of stuck in between. They don't have the opportunity to save up for a down payment, and this creates that opportunity. The pricing will vary from where we are today to the time these are built. But if we were to be selling these 1-bedroom units, it would be a price point of $357,000, which is well below, the median in the city and just across California.
Yep. So I get that. But practically speaking, right, you mentioned a couple just starting out. If they're planning to have a family, they would not buy a 1-bedroom. A couple who has 1 child are not going to buy a 1-bedroom. And a family with 2 kids are not going to buy a 1-bedroom. And just so we're clear, everyone's clear, when we're talking for this project, a moderate income, it's still approximately $80,000 that you have to make per year to be able to qualify for this. And the staff report indicated that a 1-bedroom would be recommended for only 2 people. So I'm asking if you would be willing to modify the affordable housing agreement that where there would still only be 3 units designated as affordable, but one would be a 1-bedroom, one would be a 2-bedroom, and one would be a 3-bedroom.
So we have looked into, what we could do on this project. We've worked with the city candidly with the affordable agreement. With a project of this size, it's financially infeasible for us to spread the affordable units and make it pencil.
All right. I'm not going to go down the road of how much profit you're going to make and all of that and the concessions you're going to get for 2 additional units for this and all of the 6 concessions. But I just want to make my position clear. So I'm pro-housing, right? I know we need the housing. I'm pro-business. I think that City Ventures and yourself should be able to make money. And at the same time, we often talk about how we want Simi to be a place where our own kids stay and raise their kids. We also talk about that in order to do that, we need to ensure that they can afford the homes. And this housing agreement does not meet any of those 2 objectives that we all talk about. So I'm going to support the agreement, of course, because we're in the 11th hour, and I wasn't here when it was first all discussed. But going forward, I'm going to have 2 requests. And the first request is that when planning any additional building here in Simi, I would request that you consider families. And in the planning stage of the project, so like you said, it would you're not on the 11th hour saying, oh, it's not financially going to work out. You would have already considered it in the beginning, that you think about affordable housing, not just for 1 bedrooms, because families cannot move into the 1 bedroom. Second, I'm going to ask our city attorney to speak with me about whether the city has any options, like maybe the adoption of an inclusionary housing ordinance that would give us a little more input into the makeup of the affordable housing plan. So I know you're following the letter of the law, and that's good, but following the spirit of the law, I think, is sometimes even better. Thank you.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering, could you show the attachment about the screening landscape that you're doing? 'Cause that was the one concern that I had, was that single-family home. I'm glad that the buildings are 20 feet back, but given 3 stories, that does create an angle.
Yeah.
And what are the screening trees?
I do not have the exact species on here, but they would be the taller, kind of the more vertical trees to create that screening.
So the dividing wall is still at 6 feet?
8-foot wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. The other question I have, and just to clarify, the road, that easement road that's going in, that's going to be owned by the HOA, or will that be? That's not something that gets turned over to the city, is it?
Are you talking about Allen Court?
Yes.
This is a shared road between the church and our property, and so it would be maintained by private property.
Excellent. And then the last one, I saw the affidavit from the fire department that they signed off on this. I'm confused as where a rig would turn around in this neighborhood.
So it's not clearly shown on here, but this is the hammerhead where the fire truck would turn around.
Okay, so you can do it so that, I see there's a sort of a pavement area into the recreational
Yeah,
area.
right here.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Litzter.
Actually, I think Councilmember Rhodes asked my question. I wanted to see that screening. I drove that area, both sides, and it was interesting to see how close, well, the single-family home is up to that dividing wall. They're both pretty close. So I'm glad that you're being mindful of that screening, because that is probably the area that I think is most problematic for me, that they are so contiguous to each other, single-family through 3 stories. So that was going to be my question, so that's all right. Thank you.
I'll just tag on to that. I'm glad your architect is looking at the window placement, because I think we addressed that in other development, and it really makes a difference to the neighbors. So, and like you said, the people living in it and the neighbors. So, so thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? No? Okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public wishing to be heard on this matter?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have a couple of speakers. Coral Eisenbrook.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I did actually comment on this development back in October, And I did want to address Councilmember Litzer's comment about the neighborhood council that voted against this development. I was part of that meeting as a member of the audience. They did have a audience vote, and they had a unanimous in favor of that because it was just me. I did want to express my support for this development. I spoke again in October about how attainable, not just affordable, but attainable housing is so important for people of my generation. To give it a little bit of a personal spin, I currently have 2 roommates who live in my 2-bedroom condo because they couldn't afford to live anywhere else. They're both members of Simi Valley. They were born in Simi Valley. Their families raised them in Simi Valley, but they just can't afford to live here. So having more housing for them and having more housing for people like them is really important, not just to me, but to everyone of my age. I had one other comment, sorry. I did also maybe want to condition my support because, again, what Councilmember Litzer brought up about limiting the buyers to prioritize Simi Valley residents, as well as limiting the buyers to single buyers and not corporations, that is also very important to me. So thank you for bringing that up. And I know that they did make a comment that they have a limit of 2 units per purchaser. Maybe they can consider limiting that to 1 purchase per purchaser, because obviously we would like to actually buy these homes and not just rent them from somebody who makes more money than us. So that was pretty much all I had to say. Again, I was in support of this, so I wanted to make that comment, and thank you guys for considering the development.
Thank you.
Rubea?
Did anybody else submit a speaker card?
I think Candace wanted to speak but did not fill out a card. Is that correct? Do we want to let her fill out a card quickly so she could speak?
Yeah, she can fill out a card and then speak. Yeah, you can start speaking first, and then we can fill out the card later, Candace, if you like. I just had a quick question as to why it was. We just need you to come up to the microphone. Thank you.
I just had one quick question. I was wondering why only 3 units for affordable housing out of the 3 buildings? Like, who makes that decision? Is that a question for you or for this gentleman, or?
It's a question for the developer. For who?
We'll ask him for you when he comes
afterwards.
back, so that's
Okay.
fine, Candace.
Thank you.
That was the last speaker, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Does staff desire to respond to any comments or issues raised?
No, we have no comments. Thank you.
Does the applicant desire any rebuttal?
I'll just quickly comment on your question. So the city does not have an inclusionary housing ordinance, but when you are offering affordable units, it's based on a percentage. So we offered 10% of the units to be affordable, which is where we landed on the 3 units.
Thank you. Okay, the hearing is now closed. Any further comments or questions from city council members? Councilmember Litster?
So I just wanted to actually make a comment that I do appreciate how thoughtfully these have been developed. I did drive that area, went behind the church. To give you some history, when I first saw, years ago, this was before I was on the city council, and saw the senior apartments going up, I thought, who allowed that? These 3-story apartments in the middle of nowhere, and it's not contiguous, and I was I had nothing, I was on the city council. I've since come to appreciate that our housing element has designated, that someone has to be first, that there was a designation for higher density in that area, et cetera, and there's land massing for it, et cetera. But I was giving the history that I was really perturbed at first when I saw that senior development going up. I've come to appreciate this is the next step. This is the piece then that goes next door that as it starts to fill in. And I did, I appreciate that you have communicated and worked well with the church, that they are in favor and support of what you're doing, because my big fear is that with development, we lose our churches. And that's what really makes me sick, to think that we would lose that. So I'm grateful that this actually supports their existence and what they want and allows them to thrive as a congregation. I was concerned very much about the setbacks, and really my thought at the time was whether, knowing that you were providing moderate pricing, and we've already filled that requirement, I thought, well, maybe we should eliminate that one setback, the back set, that we should stick with that. But I realized we don't have that discretion, and I think you've taken care to to try to mask some of the massing there, and to work with the neighbor there. I'm hopeful that it can be a good relationship. That is still a little concerning for me, but in all, I do think that it is beautifully designed, and I'm very grateful that it is a for sale property, and that actually people will have some ownership. We'll definitely have ownership in it, and so that I want to say thank you for that. So that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Any other council members? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion. Page 12.
I'd like to move staff's recommendation.
Call for the vote, please.
The motion passes unanimously. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
Councilmember Lister.
In the consent calendar, we are item 3, I'm sorry, I need to get the right area. Item 3 is approval and adoption of the 2025 legislative platform, which we do every 2 years. There are some changes that I would like to make to that platform, and so I'd like to pull that item. But I'm willing to move approval of items 1 through 9, is it? With exception of that item for discussion purposes.
Second.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Let's go back to item 3. Councilmember Lister.
Thank you, and I really hope this is actually a discussion, not just Councilmember Lister pontificating. I just want to make that clear. This, as I understand, this is the platform that we use, that we basically give to our lobbyists in California to use for our position, and also it's what's used if we want to write letters and if the mayor under her signature can do so without any concern because we've already approved it. And so, in my mind, this is an important document, and there's some areas that I would like to do some tweaking if we could. And I'm happy to go through it item by item if it's all right with you. I'll try not to be too lengthy. And maybe because I serve on VCOG and we spent hours going through our legislative platform every few years, who knows, maybe that's also why I'm just really mindful of it. I'll just do it in order as it comes up in the document. By the way, first I want to say thank you, that I thought that the changes were very good. Thank you, Ms. Heather Smageis. I know that you did a lot of editing, and I will say in general, I love the editing and the flow. It's all excellent, and so I just want to start with that. It's just that there's a few items I would like to either tweak or add, and so I just want to be very clear that I think it's a very good document. Let's start item 1, general governance, item section 6, pension reform, item D. If you look at C, it is support legislative objectives that maximize and don't maximize investment returns and don't limit investments to social environmental mandated interests. I would personally like to maybe take that out separately and say absolutely support legislative objectives that maximize returns, and that we will not support legislation that ties pension investments to social and environmental interests. I think I would like to make that addition, if you're following, so that basically what we've had in the past is sometimes the returns have been much lower because it's tied to maybe just green energy, for instance. And so I think we want to maximize investment there so that we can pay for our pension obligations and we don't have some of the problems that we've of late with returns.
So a simple correction would be to, after investment returns, and oppose in limiting investments due to social and environmental interests.
Yes. Yeah, something of that nature.
And I kind of think that's the intent of it, but I like the word oppose because I had to fight for that at a Cal Cities committee meeting as well, where they were trying to divest out of oil.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would just like to mention is that when we have the platform, you'll notice that there are, throughout the platform, there are sections that are oppose this or support this. And then the converse of that is anticipated that it would be then oppose whatever the opposite of that is. So, or support whatever the opposite of that is. So if the statement were to be support legislative objectives that maximize investment returns, period, that would also then infer that we would oppose any kind of investments that are limited to social environmental mandated interests. So we don't even have to go that specific. And one of the intentions with I always tend to look that way. One of the intentions is to be somewhat broad so that staff has the latitude to work with our lobbyists and to weigh in on legislation without having to come back to council when we know often legislation can be quite timely. And we want to ensure that we can respond quickly to a quickly moving legislature. So I would like to add that.
And I'm certainly fine if we just take that out and just simply, but however we want. And the other question is, I'll be honest, I do have maybe 6 or 7 things I'd like to add or change. Would it be better to pull this item and then just bring it back as a new business item at our next meeting so that doesn't make, so that others can have the opportunity to look at it more closely and it's not just.
It's certainly up to the council if you guys would like us to bring this item back and make any kind of additional recommendations. Certainly it's many of the, and I don't know I know that we had a discussion earlier. I don't know if there's other council members that have a number of other changes that they would like to recommend, or if the council would be comfortable just going through this now. The legislature is coming up into their busy season, so the sooner that we have the legislative platform adopted, I would say the better.
That was actually going to be my comment. We're kind of
Sure.
in the throes of it right
Okay.
now, and having staff have direction is
Well, I'm going
what
to
we
keep
need.
going then. Got it. Okay, thank you. This is in telecommunications, item 7. So basically, I don't know how we resolve, anyway. Item 7, I would like to possibly consider.
Well, let's make sure, though, that
How we
it is
resolve.
resolved.
So-
So I think that what we're doing is just going to say after investment returns, period, and remove the rest. Is that right?
That's what I took.
Yeah.
Are you okay? That's okay with me? Are you?
Yep.
all right? Okay, that would be
I
that
thought
would be fine.
the rest of that sentence was kludgy anyway, so that's very clear now.
Okay, thank you.
Kludgy.
Kluge? Okay. So item 7 is telecommunications. Maybe because it's a topical conversation in the news right now about NPR and whether or not it will be defunded at the federal level. If that were to happen, I suspect then the state would maybe say, well, then we should fund it. I will tell you, I love listening to NPR. I love a lot of the programs. I'm in no way against it. I just don't want it to be state funded. And so I might add a 7F that we would oppose state funding of federal networks. But maybe that's just me thinking about the topical conversation that's going on right now, if that were to happen. Anyone care? Anyone doesn't care? Is it not necessary?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the opposite of, hey, we're trying to broad, very specific.
Okay. Fair enough. Then that was just a minor. Again, these are, that's fine. Item 2,
Actually, Councilwoman Litzer, if I may, since we're doing it in order.
Yes.
My one suggested change was under 8, right, at the next topic.
Okay.
On that same page. I wanted to incorporate something that had to do with sidewalk vending. And I thought maybe if we put in with the other things that regulate smoking areas, marijuana dispensaries, alcohol, beverage licenses, massage, and sidewalk vending, that way, I want us to be able to maintain as much local control over that topic as well as those other topics.
I would certainly support that.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Yeah. So we're adding that to B, 8B. Is that where it's added?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you want it added to 8A and B?
Yes.
Okay, the next, thank you. Then chronologically, item 2, local government finance. I actually have a problem with item M of 3, revenues, fees, and taxes. I would like that actually deleted.
Item 2. Oh, there.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's right. On
So
page
Roman
9.
numeral 2, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
page 13, Roman numeral 2.
Yes.
Actually, it's page 14. Item M, which is the very last one, which says oppose legislation that restricts the ability of the city to transfer revenue from a utility or other enterprise activity to the city's general fund. I am actually opposed, I actually think that we should remove that because we represent the taxpayer, and if they have something that is on their property taxes, such as the lighting district or whatever, where they're withholding money for certain activity, I don't believe that we should just arbitrarily be able to transfer those funds into our general fund and use it for whatever we want. I think if it's collected for a purpose, it should be used for a purpose. And so I guess that's why I'm saying I don't want to oppose legislation that restricts the city's ability just to, I actually support that we need to restrict, that we, I'm saying, so I would just remove that myself. I know I spoke with City Manager Argerbright, who thinks that the intent of this possibly was that sometimes mistakes are made and general fund and funds that are, something's paid for the general fund that should have been paid for by a special fund. And in my mind, I understand that, and we should have, this doesn't restrict that. In my mind, you can, with accounting, go back and forth, and certainly you should be able to make a correction and take it out of the appropriate fund. But that's, in my mind, different than this item.
So it sounds like you wanted to just say,
would
instead of
like to-
oppose, support legislation.
Well, actually,
that-
I would probably, yes, support, or else delete it entirely, so that it's not on our legislative
even there.
platform.
I'm going to respectfully disagree only because I read it differently than you're reading it. We already have to have a vote of council to move monies, and we have restrictions on that. The state coming in and saying there are more ways that you cannot do this is sort of in that category for me of relinquishing local control over how we are moving the funds. And I certainly don't want the state to.
Well, and I hear what you're saying, and that makes sense, but historically, I will tell you that previously, in years past, when the lighting district was disbanded, there was a desire just to take the money and throw it in the general fund and use it for whatever. And I don't think that's fair to our taxpayers who the money was withheld for that purpose. I think it should have been either returned through their property tax bill or set aside and used specifically for lighting purposes.
But that should be a choice of council.
Just to clarify, if I may, if we were to transfer, as Council Member Rhodes is saying, I just want to clarify, does it require council approval to do that?
The latest resolution authorized the city manager to have more authority. However, if there was going to be something along the lines of the lighting district or something like that, we don't have a lighting district anymore, but that would come to council. That would not be something that I would do without coming to council.
Now, the lighting district, as I understood it, was to buy the lights, correct?
The lighting district was maintenance at the time, I believe. It was about 10, 12 years ago. It was a long time ago. And that was money that had been collected. And I think at the time there was I want to say there was a reason that we needed to transfer that money to the general fund because we didn't need the amount of money that was in that fund, and therefore we weren't able to expend all of it, and it was just sitting. And so there was more opportunity for us to be able to provide resident services by transferring it to the general fund, but the funds were so restricted in the lighting maintenance fund that we weren't able to actually spend the funds for what they were for. Or we didn't have the need to spend them for what they were for, and so therefore we wanted to transfer them to the general fund so that we could provide additional services.
In other words, the need no longer existed.
Thank you. Yes, that's much more concise.
Okay.
Which I understand, but they were collected for a purpose, and I think that was wrong to collect for a purpose and then say, we just want to change that purpose. Anyway, so I think that's our response with the taxpayer, but if everyone else feels that should stay in, I'm obviously there's 5 of us here, so that's the conversation.
I think we should leave it in there for now.
I think we leave it in because the argument about that should happen like right here.
Okay, fair
And-
enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Item 5, okay, going on to 3, public protection safety. I put this under emergency preparedness 5 as an additional item. I would like us to say that we support legislation that supports a state disaster relief fund. The conversation right now is that obviously there's a federal disaster relief fund, but if there's a fire and only 20 houses burn down or whatever, and they don't meet the threshold, then they don't have access to the federal disaster relief fund. And so there's a conversation even at the state level that of creating their own state disaster relief fund to help cities or entities that are where the disaster doesn't rise to that federal level. And so I would like to go on the record that we support a state disaster relief fund.
Who would fund that? Like, would money come
it just-
from the cities?
Good question. General fund, whatever. Who knows? They're going to find it out up there, and then we can. But often, I mean,
The mountain fire did not meet FEMA requirements.
exactly. And so it just is a way to help people. Now, where the funding comes from, that of course is a state conversation.
One thing to note in the item, right, the last item in that section, it's crossed out as A, but it would essentially be D. It says oppose legislation that imposes unfunded mandates on shifts the financial burden of wildfire emergency response onto local governments, ensuring the state and federal governments are responsible for funding large-scale disaster response and recovery.
So we would not have to
There you
fund
go.
it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So essentially, the state or the feds would be responsible. And we can modify that if that would meet the council's desire to remove large-scale disaster response to ensure that it's responsive to all disaster response and recovery, if that would meet the need. But I think if we added another item, it could be somewhat redundant to that section. Up to council.
Yeah, if in your mind it actually says that we are supporting a state disaster relief fund, because
I don't think it says that.
I don't think it says that.
No.
I
So
think
if
I
you
would
want
have
that,
an E.
that would be a separate item, I think, if you wanted an actual fund to be created.
Well, I think that we would, I think that we would, this is basically what we'd support. If the state chooses to support, I would like to go on the record that we would agree with that, that's all. So I would prefer it to be an item E, but,
I think if you wanted to do it, because it all relates probably to that same section D, after the first comma, you could add support a state disaster relief fund and ensure that the state and federal governments are responsible. Blah, blah, blah.
sure, that would be great. I would just like that wording in there.
Yep.
That's fine. I think everyone agrees. Okay.
Okay. Item 4, under transportation, item D, to me, it was really unclear what, the way it reads is support legislation or grant opportunities that provide funding for developing or enhancing alternative vehicle fueling infrastructure. This would support transportation funding by all system users rather than a gasoline tax, which is a declining revenue source. It wasn't clear to me if we're talking about infrastructure or if we're talking about transportation revenue sources taxing. I think maybe we need to, I would go back to the original that says, support transportation funding by all users of the system. What I wanted is to be clear is that yes, we support opportunities to provide, enhanced alternative vehicle fueling infrastructure, but very specifically, I don't want, we need to be careful about how the new road taxes and are being constructed, and I want to be sure that we are saying that we want to be sure that the burden is shared by all drivers, not just gasoline drivers, not just electric power or whatever.
If it's the desire of council, we can split that into 2 items. So the first one could be support legislation or grant opportunities that provide funding for developing or enhancing alternative vehicle fueling infrastructure. And then the next item would be support legislation that would support transportation funding by all system users rather than a gasoline tax, which is a declining revenue source. If the council is supportive of doing that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. The next item section under transportation is vehicles. We use the term EV infrastructure. I would prefer that to be, say, zero emission, because there are a lot, basically, basically the purpose of this is including the ability to plan and implement electrical vehicle infrastructure to meet local needs. The purpose is to have zero emission infrastructure, and who knows, there's a whole conversation about hydrogen gas, the different, it shouldn't just be electrical vehicles, so I would prefer the EV to be changed to zero emission vehicles, or zero emission infrastructure, and that is found in 2A and 2C. So in other words, C would read, federal provide dedicated funding for zero emission infrastructure expansion. Incentives.
Are they 2 separate things, or
I
are
was
they?
about to ask the same question, right? Does the legislature see it as 2 different
Right.
things, or is it combined under one umbrella term?
They
I was
don't.
just going to defer to our transportation guru.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Honestly, the legislation doesn't know anything about it. So I would rather you say zero emissions than electric, because electric doesn't work. That's what they keep talking about. So that's going to go by the way of the dodo soon. So zero emissions would be fine.
There you go.
If that's, okay, thank you. If we could make
Thank
that
you.
change, I would like that. Okay. This has to do with housing, and this kind of dovetails to what we talked about tonight. Community development housing, item 1. There are, all the way down to item P, I would probably add item Q, that support legislation that when arena numbers are met, concessions no longer have to be granted. We can choose to, but I just feel like that, anyway, that we should have some choices, some flexibility if we are being diligent in meeting our arena numbers. So it was just a thought of adding that to the platform as well. So basically, it was something, support legislation that when our RENA housing numbers are met, concessions or, I guess concessions or whatever, what's that? Concessions and waivers. And waivers, thank you, no
Bad news
longer
is
have
that
to be.
RENA numbers will never be met. I know. Because they change it every we're going to have another RENA session in about.
I know, and I guess what really, you're right, and I guess maybe it's total RENA. The question is it total RENA numbers, or maybe, if you've met your numbers in a certain category. Like, for instance, tonight, we've over met our medium income level.
Just to be specific on that,
Yeah.
until we approved the thing tonight, we had not met it. By approving it, we have. But
Well, no, actually, we were over it before if you go look at it, we were already over the numbers.
I don't know that that's true.
Okay, now you're gonna make me go back, so I'm not lying.
That's a different topic,
Yeah,
so,
right. So,
yeah.
RENA reform is something that we absolutely want to support legislation on RENA reform. Do you think that our ledge positions give you the flexibility and the thought process to support RENA reform if that were to come forward as legislation, that we would support it? As I think we would, but I don't know if that's specifically drawn out in those bullet items, because I didn't read them all.
Item K, under under community development, housing, number 1, item K, support legislation that implements comprehensive reforms to the housing element process that address conflicts between local growth projections and state regional housing need numbers, resolves problems associated with the distribution of RENA numbers within a council of governments, and achieves improvements to the housing element review process, develops neutral dispute resolution, fair enforcement alternatives, et cetera. So I would say that our ledge platform gives us authority to weigh in on RENA reform. I would say, though, that if there is if there were to be a piece of legislation that said we would not have to meet or I shouldn't say we don't have to meet, that once a RENA allocation has been met, that the waivers are no longer required. Unfortunately, I don't see that type of legislation coming forward anytime soon.
It's wishful thinking.
It is wishful thinking, but I mean, it's good wishful thinking. Then I would say that staff would definitely support that. I don't think that would even be something that we would consider coming to council for.
So you don't think it needs to be in the ledge
It
platform?
doesn't, well, it doesn't have to be, but if the council wants the statement to be made, that we are supportive of that.
Okay, okay, if K covers that, I'm fine with that, okay. Okay, next item, number 2, land use. This is where I threw it, but I don't know where it is. Basically support legislation that gives cities jurisdiction over state-owned land use within their cities. Case in point, we have the park and rides, which sit empty. No cards use them. I know when we were trying to find a place to put temporary homeless vehicle parking, wouldn't that have been great to use that? But we had no jurisdiction to use that empty parcel for that. Case in point, we have a courthouse that sits virtually empty. They use a little bit of it. It's owned by the state. We could use it for a lot of things. I think Councilmember Rhodes suggested we use it for the green room for the amphitheater. But anyway, I jest. But the point being that there are state properties within our city that it'd be nice if we could have some jurisdiction over their usage. And so I would like to put in item J, that said we support legislation that allows cities to have influence over state-owned land use.
Would that be zoning? Like specifically, what kind of influence are you thinking? Because we've got zoning
use.
covered.
I don't know. Yes. I mean,
No, that's
yes, and all of the above.
Because we have language that talks about protects local zoning as a function of cities. The state recently passed legislation that allows them to pretty much do whatever they want on their property in
Right,
in
and I guess
cities.
that's why I want something that says, no, we want to be able to have something to say what you do on your property that is in our city.
Al's got something to say, it looks like.
Yeah, because I think that would raise constitutional issues, actually. I mean, I think it's just like how the state and local governments can't tell the feds what to do on their property. I don't see how local governments can tell the state to do. So I think it's more than a policy issue. I think it's a constitutional issue. And so we'd be essentially asking to amend the Constitution.
Okay.
Which
Think
is a
big.
bigger issue.
Think big goals.
Support constitutional amendment.
Yeah, big goals, yes.
Okay, well, you understand my desire there that maybe we could say, be at the table, support legislation that puts the city at the table when the state discusses their land uses. I don't know, maybe not. Okay. So what I'm hearing from our attorney is that we can't do it. That's what, that's.
I mean, think UPS, right?
Well, what I would say too is if the city is aware of a project that is coming forward that the state is looking to do in our community, that is not something that would be a project that the city would normally support, I would say that that would be something that we would bring to council for consideration to write an opposition letter or some type of feedback to them to let them know what our perspective is.
Yeah.
That would be something that we would definitely bring to the council.
Understood. And I guess my thought was just, as I thought about our homeless issue, and here that land sits fallow. And certainly the state has the goal of addressing homeless. That would be a great place to put the parking. Anyway, okay, I understand. And actually, I think that that's it for my items that I wanted to discuss. And I think we talked about a couple of corrections with wording, but I think we got that.
Madam Mayor, I'd move to approve and adopt the 2025 legislative platform as proposed and amended.
Second.
Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for humoring me.
Madam Mayor, members of City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, council member reports.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala.
Okay, on March 11th, I talked about how I toured the library, and we already talked about that earlier. But I would promote the mobile van program that they have. So if anyone does have, it's not just for schools. So if anyone listening has any senior living facility or any place that people have a hard time getting out, the van can go to them. So definitely contact the library for that. That evening, along with Councilmember Litster, we interviewed for the Community Project Grant Committee, and we were able to, without fighting, actually find a common person that we thought would be great for this committee. So we enjoyed doing that. We had a lot of very good applicants, and it was tough to come to a conclusion, but we were able to do that. On the 12th, I attended the bunting ceremony in honor of firefighter Tommy Minadeo. And it was a ceremony that was very short in duration, but very impactful. And to see the brotherhood for those firefighters, there were so many there that really did not personally know him, but were there in the brotherhood of firefighters was very great to see. On March 14th, I attended my first chamber breakfast, so I'm now an official member of the Chamber of Commerce and have my certificate for that. It was great to meet people, and I look forward to attending more of their breakfasts. On the 14th as well, I attended the Youth Impact Forum. We talked about that earlier today. Again, just an amazing event. I'm really glad that I got a chance to do that. On the 18th of March, I attended a tour of the Senior Center, and it was, my mom goes there every day. And so a lot of people knew her. And so they knew me, even though I didn't know them. They were a little confused because she said, they said some of them, my mom said I was the new congressman. For some of them, I was the new governor. And, but she's proud, so I'll give her that. But being there, you can see why people go every day, because there's so much for them to be able to do. On the that evening on the 18th, I attended the Youth Council meeting. We talked a little bit about that and how great Ryan is with letting the youth lead the program. And another shout out for the talent show that's coming up this weekend at the Cultural Arts Center. So if there's tickets still available, make sure you get those. I'll be there on Saturday night, so say hello. On the 20th, I took a tour of the waste management landfill and also our recycling center in Sun Valley. It was a great experience. Really enjoyed that. When we look at the landfill, it's really an engineering feat, not just a dump, right? It's an engineering feat. And they showed me the RNG, the renewable natural gas plant, which is going to supply gas to the gas company to power homes. And it's an amazing, amazing project. And at the recycling center, I learned that they divert 1 million tons of waste a year from our landfill. And so it's really great what they're doing. And I think we take it for granted. We think that it's just trash, but they are doing a lot of great work at both of those places. I then went on a spring break. And when I came back, I was able to attend the swearing-in ceremony for Jeffrey Campos and Kyle York on the 27th. And so was really proud to be able to welcome our two newest police officers to our police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Tuesday, March 11th, I turned a year older. On Wednesday,
Just one?
Just one. On Wednesday, March 12th, I also attended the bunting ceremony at Fire Station 45. That evening, I attended a Zoom cleanup, SSFL cleanup workshop Zoom call, and super informative. And it's amazing how they can sort of keep control of a online Zoom call with many, many passionate people. On Thursday, March 13th, I met here at the city to discuss the progress over at Runkle Canyon. Friday, March 14th, I attended the Youth Impact Forum at Central Middle School, and also that day, just after that, I had a call with the developer from Runkle Canyon, and now that I was fully briefed, I could get the other side of the story and the progress that's being made there. I attended a ribbon cutting at the Adventist Health Physicians Network Sycamore Primary Care, and that seems weird to go and give a certificate where I also go and get my checkups, and so. Dr. Kurohara from my Rotary Club is a physician at that network, and it was great to see that new facility, and they've invested a lot of money here in Simi Valley to bring that medical care. Councilwoman Litster and I traveled north that evening to Santa Barbara, Goleta, and attended the Channel County's dinner. And I'll never get that part of my life back.
Wasn't the company with me?
No, that was fine. On Tuesday, March 18th, I traveled to Sacramento for both family and to advocate. I was up there in support of SB 64, brought forth by Senator Grove. That particular bill died in committee, and then we had a press conference for the Children's Educational Opportunity Act. So I met with Senators Grove and Valadares while I was up there. Let's see, on Tuesday, March 20th, I attended the Seroptimus International 10th anniversary, sort of a ribbon cutting, and it was great. What a powerful organization for our community, and 10 years is amazing. Friday, March 21st, I had the pleasure of attending the Elks Lodge First Responders dinner, and I will let Mike talk more about that since it's his lodge. And oh my gosh, it keeps going. Yeah. Wednesday, March 26th, I attended the Chamber's Legislative Affairs Zoom call. And Thursday, March 27th, I attended in Burbank the Policy Committee of Revenue and Taxation from Cal Cities, and we talked about sales tax and how a bill they are proposing to split the sales tax from the distribution centers like an Amazon. Interesting. I got back here in time for the swearing-in ceremony for our new officers, and then made it up to 99-1 The Ranch for Janice Parvin's Town Hall, which our very own Luis Garibay showed well. I took some embarrassing pictures, which I will share with you for money. So, and that. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Litzter.
Thank you. I'll begin with March 11th. It was great to work with Councilmember Ayala in selecting a good recipient. I think we did find a good one. They were some exceptional people. On Wednesday, March the 12th, I too attended the bunding ceremony in ditto. That was just a brief but moving tribute to fallen firefighter Tommy Minadeo. I also attended the Simi Valley Veterans Foundation meeting and appreciate that that's still going in their efforts to do good for our veterans and new members being joined to that foundation. Thursday, March the 13th, I once again attended my Simi Valley Police Academy training. I'm learning about judges, I've learned about public defenders, we've learned about the detectives, we had the chaplains make a presentation. Actually, it is really informative and fun to attend that. I would encourage all to have that opportunity, but it is good to know more details specifically about our police force. Friday, March 14th, I too again attended the Youth Impact Forum. We already spoke about that earlier. And enjoyed attending the Cal Cities Channel County's dinner with Councilmember Rhodes. I will say, good company traveling with him. It was good to network with people. I think he was referring to some of the remarks at the dinner that were less than that. It just anyway. It was not the best. Anyway, it was all right. Going on. Tuesday, March the 18th, I attended the ribbon cutting for Enzo Verde, their grand opening. And I want to tell my fellow council members, you need to get up there and see what they've got going on up there. It is the showroom for selling properties for the new senior facility that is being built at the top of Tapple Street, right before you get to Brandeis University. On the right-hand side, you may remember it came before us a few years ago, and then that fell through because of financing. This new group is it's going to be a beautiful design. It really is. I would say it has a Zen influence. They have literally that it's Zen meets some of the Quaker Foundation. Anyway, you can get their whole philosophy, but it truly is a beautiful facility. I will tell you that when you go there and see what they have there, they have the entire design mapped out, and with their iPad, they can light up what room you're going to purchase or rent, and so you see a three-dimensional of this whole beautiful facility, and you want the river view, we'll show you where those look like. Oh, you want the mountain view, and it's just a beautiful facility. I will tell you that they already, I believe, are 25% sold out, these units. It's over 300 units, and it's going to be a very affluent senior community and mobile community that's coming into our community. In fact, they shared with me that their furthest away commitment is someone in Thailand has already put money down on wanting to come and live in Simi Valley. So anyway, I just think you would enjoy. You need to go up there and wander and see what's up there because it truly is. It's slated to be completed. I believe 2028 is when that's going to be done. But anyway, I take that opportunity. It was good to learn more about it. That evening, I also attended the Department of Engineering Santa Susana Field Lab public scoping meeting. I believe that Councilmember Rhodes did it online. I did it in person. Held up at our First Street, whatever that lovely hotel is. Anyway, Grand Vista. Thank you, in the ballroom. I'm glad that it was held here in Simi Valley. A lot of comments. They were soliciting public comments. Again, what I shared with people there is we want them to do something and start the cleanup, but just be sure it doesn't come down into Simi Valley as you cart away some of the radioactive materials. Thursday, March the 20th, I attended the Simi Valley Ed Foundation Teacher of the Month, where we awarded Janae Arce of Wood Ranch Elementary. Congratulations to her. On Friday, March 21st, I also attended the First Responders of the Year Award. Again, I will let Mayor Pro Tem Mike talk about it, but it was a lovely evening. But I snuck away in the middle of it because we needed to present a certificate to Dream House. And I want to just tell you a little bit about this new business in town. This is two young women who have, if you want to do your own podcast, if you want to do your social media posting, if you want to take photos, this is the place. They basically, it's on Yosemite, and they are everything about, they have places where you can actually tape your podcast, where you can do your filming, et cetera, green screens, et cetera. It's actually a fun place. It'd be lovely to have it be successful and to have that here in Simi Valley. On Saturday, March 22nd, at 5 to 7, I went to the VFW Post 10049 Gala fundraising dinner. I will say I appreciate the veterans doing this there at VFW Post 149. The conversation, it's been they used to do it all the time. They're now back to doing it again, so I share that with you. Hopefully, they're going to do it every month, but it was just fun to hang out and have a lovely meal. And after that, went and saw Ragtime at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. And that was an incredible performance, really. The talent, and it was just absolutely amazing what we have going in our community. And that was closing weekend. It was outstanding. I, too, took off for spring break. Quick whirlwind trip to Idaho and Utah, came back Thursday in time for the swearing-in. Police Academy made it to there on Friday. March 28th is when I attended my League of California Cities Committee, which is Environmental Committee. I came to appreciate why the League of Cities often doesn't get a lot of recommendations, because I think the housing group met and said, we need to support this legislation, which basically stayed building code, that it's reviewed every 3 years. It said, listen, take a break, let the cities catch up. And then they brought it to our committee, and our committee voted against it. No, we want them to keep reviewing it. I was actually not, I was in the minority, but I realized that's why so little sometimes comes from the League of Cities in terms of true legislation support. Anyway, so that, neither here nor there. But it was very interesting to have that experience. I also attended the Soroptimist Quartermania on March 30th. That was my first experience attending that. It's amazing what you can get, with quarters, what you can win if you're lucky. So I appreciate actually the efforts of the Soroptimist organization and what they do for women. And so that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Wednesday, March 12th, I too attended the bonding ceremony over at Fire Station 45. So sad to see a person cut down in the prime of their life. On March 14th, I attended the Chamber Networking Breakfast. Hope everybody had a happy St. Patrick's Day on Monday the 17th. On Thursday, March 20th, I too attended the Soroptimist International 10th Anniversary. Very supportive of that organization. On Friday, March 21st, I attended and hosted the First Responders of the Year Award Dinner at the Simi Valley Elks Lodge. This is an event put on once a year, and it celebrated a bunch of our officers, and we're very happy to give Gene Coletto our Enrique Camarena Award for his work in the community as law enforcement goes, and that's a very prestigious award given out by the Elks nationwide. On Thursday, I already talked about that. On Monday, March 24th, I attended VCTC's Finance Committee, and we balanced our budget, so you'd be happy to know that. On Thursday, March 27th, I too attended the League of Cities Policy Committee for Public Safety, and we are supporting Assemblymember Irwin's bill to give a little breathing room to our law enforcement agencies on hiring new police officers and not require them to have so many higher education requirements, call it something like that. So hopefully this bill will pass, and it will clean up the language that was already passed by the legislature. And like I said, give our law enforcement agencies breathing room when they can barely recruit right now. And the bill that is planning to go into effect on January 1st, 2026, in my opinion, just my humble opinion, will kill recruitment for law enforcement for a long time. So hopefully this bill passes, and like I said, gives them breathing room till 2031 to get this stuff in order. Also allow Post to catch up. Saturday, March 29th, I attended a Court of Honor for 6 of our brand new Eagle Scouts here in Simi Valley. Hayden Traxler, Griffin Traxler, Ethan Johnson, Aiden Johnson, Callum Chisholm, and Leo Bersowski. Hope I said that right. Congratulations to all of them. My son is an Eagle Scout. I know the work they go through to get that, and I always appreciate the Boy Scouts making us fantastic citizens. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. On Thursday, March 13th, I took the day off because my daughter had a baby. So I have my 3rd grandchild, so I was very excited about that. On Saturday, March 15th, I had the pleasure of meeting with former Planning Commissioner John Castleberry. He was visiting here in town, and he wanted to catch up on what the city was doing and what he's doing up in his area. Thursday, March 20th, we had our Economic Development Collaborative meeting. There's a lot of things coming down through the EDC.
we're getting almost too big where we're handling millions and millions of dollars in grants. But we just keep chugging along. We've got great staff. They're doing a great job. I'll have more details later on that. I also attended the First Responders of the Year Awards Dinner at the Elks Lodge on March 21st. I love that the Elks Lodge does that. It's such a great thing, except it really aged me because I know the in-laws of the Simi PD officer and the in-laws of the Firefighter of the Year. I'm thinking, okay, I think I'm up there in age now too, but congratulations to all of them. I like that they recognize AMR, Fire, Highway Patrol. They recognize all the different agencies, and that's really nice. Saturday, it wasn't city-related, but I spent the day at Fort Irwin with my nephew, who's in the 82nd Airborne. He's a Red Devil, if anyone knows what that means. So he told me that. Tuesday, March 25th, I kind of did double duty. I went up to see my son-in-law promoted to captain with Santa Barbara County Fire. But at the same time, a longtime Simian, Garrett Huff, was also promoted to deputy chief. And our chief of police wife's Kristen went to school with him. So I thought that was great. And I found out he's Holly Huff's son. Holly is the one that lives in the Knowles area that always visits and has tried to help out with the Santa Susana Field Lab. So he's got deep ties to Simi Valley. So that was really cool. On Wednesday and Thursday, it was spring break. I was supposed to go away and we didn't. So on Wednesday and Thursday, I took the time to meet with the department heads here at the city because I never get to do that. So it was very fun, very interesting. I found out a lot of them have more tasks and responsibilities than I realized. So, but it was, thank you to all of you for meeting with me. I really enjoyed getting to know everybody a little bit better. I also attended the swearing in of our two most recent officers. And yes, I hope that does pass, that legislation, Mike. I know how much trouble everyone is having in recruiting. On March 29th, I attended the funeral for Tommy Minadio, our firefighter from Simi Valley that passed away from leukemia. It was a very upbeat celebration of life, which I appreciated. I gather Tommy was a very outgoing, very loud, very boisterous person, and he wanted his celebration of life to be along those lines. It was the Sea of Blue, which is all the firefighters in their uniforms, and there were some dignitaries there as well. But I think what really got me the most is every single firefighter in the county was there. So that means other people were covering for us, so that they could attend. And what was really neat is I was coming home, got off at Olson or onto Madera, and I'm coming to Wood Ranch and I see red fire trucks. We don't have red, we have yellow. So as I drive by, I went, oh wait, those are the ones that are covering for us. So I circled around and I went to the fire station and I said, thank you for doing that so that everyone was able to attend. It was really meaningful that they were able to cover so that everyone could be there. It was a very, very nice ceremony. And he was a Highlander, so go Royal. So that's the end of my report. Are there any items for future agenda items? Sorry, I took over the city clerk's spot, 10B. Any future agenda items from anybody? All right, no, then I guess we're going to motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.